Hi, Angie. How are you? There we go. Hey, Scott.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Nolan. Hey, Sonia.
Hi, Scott.
Let's go ahead,
Angie.
Sonia. Let's go ahead and promote. Let's go ahead and promote attendees to panelists. That way,
Okay.
folks are not.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah, just as folks are joining, this got set up as a webinar by our communications department, but I realize that makes it more difficult for folks to participate. So we're going to just promote people to panelists so we can all have just an open conversation.
Okay.
So we'll give everyone just a few minutes to join. And while folks are joining, I just want to check, Sonia, were you able to, or Luis, do things look different? Do you have your control panel now? We'll give folks a few more minutes to join.
Dire warning that most hospitals don't have enough resources to treat even patients who come in after car accidents or heart attacks. There are no statewide health restrictions in place, and the state's largest city hasn't reimplemented its mask mandate.
And I hate to ask, but if everyone can mute themselves if they're not speaking.
I did correspond with Jesse. It's
Right, it seems like folks are filtering in. We'll wait just a couple more minutes, see if we can get a critical mass here. And Luis, I don't know if you want to unmute yourself. We do have interpretation.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. We do have interpretation services tonight, so.
Muy buenas tardes. Ahora queremos avisarles que tenemos servicios de interpretación. Muchas gracias.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone. Muy buenas tardes a todos. Thank you for joining us for our September New City Back of the Yards Neighborhood Roundtable. I know we have had sort of a haphazard meeting schedule over the summer, but I think we're looking forward to getting back to sort of a regular cadence with you all. I want to introduce Luis. from Language Line, who is here to provide interpretation services tonight. Luis?
Muy buenas tardes, gracias por acompañarnos, es un placer tenerlos, gracias por acompañarnos durante la época de verano. En todas estas sesiones que hemos tenido sabemos que ha sido un poco inestables, a veces con un poquito de problemas, pero acá estamos de regreso, gracias por acompañarnos en esta mesa redonda del vecindario. Tenemos los servicios de un intérprete, su nombre es Luis y él está con nosotros. Gracias por tenerme acá, es un placer servir en la ciudad de Chicago. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure serving the city of Chicago.
Great. And we do have I am having some issues tonight. We do have a pretty full agenda this evening. We have an update from Cdot on their streetscaping engagement and next steps, an update from the Artists in Residence program and some events that they've had recently. We're going to provide kind of a high-level update on 47th and Justine, the RFP process tonight. And then hopefully if we have time at the end, we can do just sort of start the conversation around what this roundtable looks like, how we want it to kind of function going forward. But yeah, just kind of the beginning of that conversation.
Muy buenas tardes, tenemos una agenda muy apretada ahora, bastantes puntos que tenemos que cubrir. Tenemos una actualización de parte del departamento Cdot, que es del desagüe de las calles y la sesión que tuvimos con las conexiones que hubieron. También tenemos una actualización de los eventos que están con los artistas en las residencias. Tenemos otro resumen de actualización de lo que estamos haciendo en la calle 47 y Justin con el Rfp Proceso de peticiones de los presupuestos. Y terminando con una discusión, vamos a pensar una mesa redonda de repensar todos los puntos que hemos hablado.
Let me take things a little out of order here. So translation is available. If you need translation, please click the interpretation button that's located along the Zoom toolbar on your screen.
Bueno, tenemos los servicios de interpretación. Ahorita nos iríamos a un modelo de interpretación simultánea. Está el globo en la parte posterior que dice Interpretation. Ese globito lo aprietan y escucharán toda esta presentación en español.
And at this point, we'll begin simultaneous translation.
Y ahorita vamos a empezar con la traducción simultánea.
And some ground rules for the evening, as we always have, please stay muted while others are speaking. Please raise your hand to speak. Feel free to use the chat and the Q&A features of Zoom. And as always, this meeting is being recorded and we will post it on the new City Back of the Yards Invest Southwest website within the next 2 weeks.
Mr. Saraf, I still haven't been. I need to be sent to my room, Spanish room.
Sonia, can you do that?
I'm still here.
Yeah, I'm not seeing, you don't have a window, Luis?
No.
Okay, hang on a second. How about now?
No.
Okay. Let's see. I apologize, everyone. Let me see here. I don't know why this isn't working. Everything is set up.
Let's ask a
Well, and
question.
I think we may have to, you want to ask, okay, go ahead.
Let's ask a question of folks who are on the call tonight. We have about 18 people with us. Please raise your hand, and Luis, please translate this. Please raise your hand if you need Spanish translation this evening or interpretation this evening.
Señoras y señores, por favor nos podrían levantar la mano indicando si necesitan interpretación, por favor, porque tenemos problemas con el sistema y queremos saber si hay necesidad de estos servicios. Por favor, levanten la mano o déjenlo saber en el chat. Si no, continuamos en inglés.
All right, so I think what we'll do for this evening, Luis, thank you so much for being
Yep.
here. Let's go ahead and move forward in English.
Yep.
If anyone does need interpretation, we can do that at that moment. But let's go ahead and advance just in English at this point, since no
Yep.
one seems to be raising their hands.
I'll stay watching the chat, and I'll keep posting often if they need any Spanish to let us know.
Great, thank
Sam.
you. All right. So continuing on, the first item of order tonight is an update on Cdot Streetscaping, their engagement session on August 25th. We have with us Vanessa Irizarry from Cdot. Vanessa.
Thank you for having me, Nolan. Do you have our slide?
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So we just wanted to take this opportunity to provide a project update and make some project announcements. As you know, the Streetscape project goes from on 47th Street from Loomis to Hoyne and Ashland from 43rd to 49th Street. In spring 2021, we kicked off the project. We had our first Invest Southwest roundtable. And we started our existing conditions analysis. In summer 2021, we had the second roundtable, and we had our first public meeting, as Nolan mentioned, that was held on August 25th of 2021, about 3 weeks ago. The meeting recordings and presentation PDFs, both in English and Spanish, are available online. Now also, the project online survey was made live today and will be available until October 8th of 2021. The survey is available in both English and Spanish. It should take about 5 to 7 minutes to complete. So we ask everyone to please provide us your feedback and fill out the online survey. We're also going to be going through stakeholder interviews. And as we learn and receive everybody's feedback, we're starting to develop preliminary concepts. In the fall of this year, we hope to engage with you again at a roundtable, I guess, because we're here doing an update that technically will be roundtable number 4 instead of number 3. We will have a second public meeting. We will have an additional survey, and then we would be sort of presenting preferred concepts at the time. Now in winter of this year and spring 2022, we would be having our last roundtable and the last public meeting. Next slide. So as I mentioned, the online service was made live today and will be available until October 8th of 2021. We really value your opinion and input. We ask that you please help us spread the word by sharing the survey with your neighbors and completing the community survey. We have sent an email blast to the roundtable. Nolan, thank you for doing that. We also sent out the email blast to the aldermanic offices, and we are sending the email blast also to community groups in the neighborhood. You can see on the slide sort of the very long links to our English and Spanish surveys, but that email blast does have links directly to them, so feel free to share. And again, we thank you so much. We look forward to hearing what everybody has to say. And I guess, Nolan, if that's okay, I'll open it up to any questions that people have.
Is it okay to just ask, or should we use Q&A?
I'm finding the way up to you, Nolan. Nolan, did you hear that?
Maureen, go ahead and ask your question. Yes.
Yeah, sure.
feel
Okay.
free.
So I'm sorry I haven't been part of these conversations. I hope to catch up on them quickly. I know that the intersection itself of Ashland and 47th is the traffic is more than the intersection can bear, and it's pretty tough. Like, it's tough to make left turns. I believe I've seen some accidents there. CTA has been rerouted, so now they are stopping north of 47th, and I think that's a good thing. But like, could someone summarize, are there thoughts about what to do to like make the intersection there safer?
So that is part of our analysis, what is happening at that intersection. I really welcome you to see our previous presentations and all of the slides about what we have found to date, which shows that there's a lot of sort of traffic issues at that intersection. And we are looking at potential recommendations on how to address those issues at the same time that we are receiving community feedback on sort of placemaking and what we want to happen in that intersection. So not only traffic and safety improvements for sort of pedestrian safety, and also traffic flow issues and concerns about safety with traffic flow, but also how do we make the intersection friendlier and provide a sense of place at that location.
Great. And then has there been discussion about putting up the pedestrian signs at Marshfield and 47th? That is a heavy intersection, and like, you can't really put a stop sign or a light there because it's just a block off the intersection. But there's a Walgreens there, and there's heavy pedestrian traffic. I mean, I personally walk there pretty regularly, and it's a dangerous intersection for pedestrians. Has that been raised?
Nobody has raised it today that I can recall. We'll be doing a lot of permanent infrastructure improvements, so we're hoping we can address a lot of those concerns through that. But we'll definitely take your recommendation and bring it to the table with our team.
Thank you. And I'll try to catch up and be more engaged in that conversation. I wasn't aware it was happening. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Vanessa, we had two questions in the chat. One from Maureen asking if we could put the links to the surveys in the chat, and also
Sure.
the email list for the roundtable. So this did go out to roundtable members today. Maureen, I'm sorry if you missed it. I'll make sure that you're on the list. But we can also put the links in the chats, and I'll make sure that we send that out again too, just so, you know, just in case folks have missed it. And then the second question, Vanessa, can you let everyone know where to access the recording for the 825 meeting?
Sure. So we have a project website. That's where the recordings are. I will share that link in just a moment. And I will also share the links to the surveys, both the English and the Spanish surveys, on the chat, the ones that are showing down here on the slide. So you can click on those.
And then before we move on, are there any other questions or comments about the Streetscaping initiative? Seeing and hearing none, we'll continue to move on. Vanessa, thank you so much for joining us this evening. If anything else does come up, feel free to bring it up at the end, and I'll make sure that Vanessa gets those questions and we get them answered for you.
Perfect. Thank you for having me, Nolan. I will post those links, and then I will leave the room. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. All right, the next item was an update on the Artist in Residence events, but I know Robin from Project Onward, I think she was not able to join us right away. So I think we're going to table this for now until she's able to join, and we'll come back to it. The next item of business is just an update on the 47th and Justine RFP process, which I know everyone is all too aware of and interested in. I do want to say, kind of right at the front end here, there is a larger engagement session planned for next Thursday from 4:30 to 6:30 that will be dedicated 100% to the 47th and Justine site, this RFP process, and what's getting proposed for development along the corridor. And so I do want to keep any questions. If you do have questions or comments tonight, that's great. I'm happy to answer them, but I do want to keep things high level here because there's going to be a lot of time next week for folks to get more information and have questions answered. But, just to give folks kind of, again, an overview of where we are in the process, last November, we issued a request for proposals for the 47th and Justine site. Before November, we had a number of visioning sessions, workshops, kind of virtual workshops with folks to get a sense of what the community wanted to see on the 47th and Justine site. Those ideas got incorporated into the request for proposals. We received 3 requests for proposals at the end of March this year. And since then, I've been in the process of sort of evaluating them. Month before last, end of July, a successful proposal was selected. And we're now sort of in step 4 of the process now, where we're beginning to work with the developer on negotiating their proposal and expecting them to work with the community to continue to refine their proposal. And so, as you know, there were 3 proposals received. Each of them proposed in some ways similar, but there were some pretty distinct differences between the different proposals and what was proposed for these sites. And as you know, they were received at the end of March. In May and June, we had a number of kind of public engagement sessions where folks were able to hear more from these developers, hear about their proposals, ask questions, provide feedback. We also launched a survey that ran for a month where folks could actually provide input on, what they liked and didn't like about the different proposals, what worked and didn't work for them. And the results of that survey, we received almost 300 responses. The results of that survey was incorporated into the evaluation of these 3 proposals. And so in July, there were 2 consensus meetings. So an evaluation committee was developed. It was composed of 6 city staff and 3 evaluators from the community. So we actually asked you for nominations. We received, and Sonia, if you remember, I think we received close to 30 nominations. I think I want to say like 27 nominations.
Yep, that's right.
For community evaluators. We drew names out of a hat, basically, and ended up with 3. And so those 9 folks, 6 city employees, or 6 city representatives, 3 community representatives, evaluated all 3 proposals, talked about them, again, what did we like, what didn't we like, and came to a consensus. And so the consensus from the evaluation committee was that United Yards was the successful proposal, with a few conditions. And Scott is only too aware of these. One was the evaluation committee really wanted to see more affordability incorporated into the project in terms of the rental rates for some of the apartment units. The committee really wanted to see them explore a partnership with Back of the Yards Works, which was sort of the runner-up and definitely the fan favorite. And I think, as one of the evaluation committee members, I can say, there was a lot of support for Back of the Yards Works. And so we're very excited that it sounds like United Yards and Back of the Yards Works are in conversations and maybe have signed or have agreed to work together on a program. So we may be getting kind of 2 proposals instead of just 1 here. But then the third one, obviously, is we expect United Yards to continue to engage the community. They'll be doing so next week. We expect more engagement, over the next few months on refining their proposal. And so that kind of gets us to next steps. Again, next week, Thursday evening from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. at the Davis Square Fieldhouse, there will be a Meet the Developer event hosted by United Yards. This will be an opportunity for folks to come. It's an open house, so you can come anytime and spend as much time as you want there, ask the questions that you want, but there'll be an opportunity to get more information on what's being proposed, not just for 47th and Justine, but as many of you know, or most of you know, the United Yards proposal also proposes renovating the Rainbow Building, doing some renovations on the Goldblatt Building, and then also building out the vacant lot at 47th and Marshfield. And so there's a lot of components to the winning proposal, in addition to what gets incorporated from Back of the Yards Works. So the hope is next Thursday you're able to come spend a little time at this meeting, ask some questions, provide some feedback. Scott, I don't know if you want to add, anything on kind of what we're hoping to accomplish next Thursday or what you're hoping to achieve.
Certainly. And before I do that, I just want to reaffirm that United Yards and Back of the Yards Works has signed an MOU. So we're super, super excited to be working together. It's an arrangement that both teams are excited about. So it's a big win for the project and the community. Jesse, I know, is on the on this webinar as well, and I certainly would invite him to chime in a moment. But you know, we are committed to all those three conditions, and you know, certainly the merging of the two teams is a big step in the right direction on the second condition. The deeper affordability, we are making lots of good progress in a number of different programs to help promote that. So I think we're going to hit a home run with both of those items. And certainly the community engagement has been so important in the beginning, and it'll continue to be important. Really excited next week to take that first next step and showing the complete plan merged with back of the yards work next week, and where they're incorporating the project and how we're going to work together. It's going to be a really productive event. We're really excited. Jesse, do you want to add anything to that?
Sure. Yeah, I think for us, the main thing is that, you know.
Oh,
Sorry, I don't know if you can hear me.
Oh, there
Okay,
you
yeah,
are.
sorry. I was
there we
muted.
go.
My apologies. I'm in California, as you can see by what I'm wearing, so I had the camera on. But yeah, you know, we've engaged with discussions with Celadon and with Scott, and we're excited about the opportunity of coming up with something that's going to incorporate, you know, both of the you know, the proposals and you know, and definitely making sure that the community, you know, what the community wants is definitely as part of this development. And like Nolan said, you know, the opportunity of even making this a bigger you know, project than what initially was thought. So I'm certainly definitely looking forward to working with Scott and figuring out you know, what the best things are for our neighborhood.
Great. Thank you, guys. And Angie has a question. Why was Davis Square Park chosen? I think we were trying to figure out, or trying to find a location that could accommodate, that had enough space to accommodate folks, you know, given the fact that, you know, we're still in a pandemic. We still need to have space for people to spread out and socially distance. I know Scott had offered to have it at the Goldblatt building, but we were concerned that the room wasn't large enough. So we encouraged them to look for another location, and Davis Square Park worked out. So that's where it will be. But you know, I imagine as we hopefully transition out of these sort of virtual meetings to more in-person meetings, you know, we'll be able to kind of move around the community and pick different locations so that we're, you know, trying to be more available to folks. But yeah, but that's where next week's meeting is. And so everyone should have received an invitation to that. I will make sure that we send out another one just in case anyone missed it. But again, it's next Thursday, September 23rd from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. at the Davis Square Field House. It is an open house. So you don't have to be there at 4:30. You can come at any time and engage. And we would encourage you to do so. And I'm just reading your other comment. If there could be some signage on the lot itself. Yeah, that's a great idea. We should put some signage out to make sure that folks know where to go. Are there any questions at this point? Again, you'll have another opportunity tomorrow or next week to ask questions and provide input on this particular project. But if there's any sort of high-level questions, I can answer now. Going once, going twice. Okay. I do see we have Robin Jablonski with us from Project Onward. Robin, I'll switch back if I can. We are just having all sorts of technical issues tonight. I apologize. There we go. If you want to say a few words about kind of the latest events in the Artist in Residence program with Fernando.
Sure. Hi, I just wanted to say I'm Robin. I'm going to be kind of working with Fernando now on the art side of the community events he's been doing portraits with. So we're going to be switching. We just finished up Summer Dance, which was the one at Davis Square. And it was really a great program. People wanted to keep getting their portraits done even after his hand was about to fall off because he did so many. He did them real fast too. But yes, that was really successful. I sent some pictures, and sorry, I'm just kind of catching up on the program right now, so bear with my learning curve here. And but Fernando's doing a wonderful job, and everyone has been really amazing with him and friendly, and as he is. So what we plan on doing is we were going to have a live painting event a couple weeks ago, but we rescheduled it with Star Farm because it was a kind of a, you know, last minute thing while I was switching over, and they have a couple of other events that they're working on right now. So we are going to be picking either two dates, October 16th or October 23rd. So I'm just waiting on Stephanie from Star Farm to give me a heads up. And I'm Whitney from Envision. We did a studio visit. Fernando and Allie did a studio visit to their place. So they're going to come to us next, I think Wednesday. Yeah, next Wednesday, they're going to come with two of their artists, Flo and Chris, who are going to join us in a live painting event at Star Farm, where we're going to be doing a mural on a 4 by 6 foot panel. And Fernando and I and the other artists are just starting to place together what the concept around it will be. That's it.
Awesome. Great. Thanks. Does anyone have any questions for Robin?
I do. I was just writing. There are a couple things that happen in our neighborhood regularly in late October. There's often a Dia de los Muertos event, which often happens like the last Saturday in October. Claudia Alvidrez, who's at Peace and Education Coalition, who does art pop-ups in the neighborhood, would be a good contact so that like this is coordinated and not like conflicting. I would encourage you to get in touch with her.
Okay, where is she located at?
Okay, at the Peace
Again?
and Education Coalition High School. Angie Kolasinski, who's on the call, can probably connect you.
Also, Robin, we have her contact information because she's been on the roundtable before, so I can send you her email address if you need it.
I would
Hey,
love
Maureen,
that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that is correct. It's October 23rd is the day for Dia de los Muertos.
Okay, thank you. Well, maybe it's the 16th, as long as I can coordinate it with Star Farm because that's their location. Yeah.
Great. Scott, you have your hand raised?
Yes, this may be not a relevant question, but I don't know is this in any way connected to the work that the Department of Cultural Affairs is doing at the Viaduct, the Mural of Light, just south of this 47th National intersection?
So I think the Artist in Residence program is sort of oh, sorry, Robin, do you want to answer or?
Oh, no, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I think they're separate initiatives, although I know DCASE has every intention of having an engagement process around the lighting. I think they may have even had a couple one engagement session already. Yeah, Lydia wasn't able to join us tonight, but we can definitely have her at the next roundtable. And yeah, I think, you know, they have planned to have engagement around the lighting project and will continue to do that.
So to the extent that it's possible, we would love to be part of that collaboration. We are planning certain lighting treatments for our buildings. I think it'd be really exciting to somehow coordinate together so it all sort of ties together.
That's great. Yeah, we'll definitely put you guys in touch.
Thank you.
And Jesse asked in the chat, what date is the event with Star Farms again?
We don't have one as of yet. I'm waiting on Stephanie, who owns Star Farm. So I'm waiting for an answer from her. As soon as we can get a date from her, then we can go forward.
Great. Okay. And we're getting some comments in the chat. Robin, I'll share some of these with you after the meeting, just on logistics for that next event.
Okay. Yeah,
Right.
I apologize. There's been a little bit of a conflict with transitioning. So I'm working on transitioning things right now, taking over the group.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us tonight.
Welcome.
So that leaves, sort of the last item on the agenda, which again, I think we just sort of want to tee this up. I'm not expecting, a deep conversation about this evening, although if folks have thoughts and ideas, let's certainly discuss them tonight. But, I think the idea is we've now been doing this for over a year now, having these roundtables, and I think there's been a lot of value that's come out of them. But I also know that, a year in, there's certainly some lessons that I think we've probably learned. One is we need to get our translation and interpretation technology figured out. But, I just think I want us to kind of open up the conversation about, what are these roundtables? The format, is this working? How should we modify it and in what ways? Does the current schedule and timing work? We've been meeting once a month in the evening. I know for some folks the evening is difficult, but I know for other folks the middle of the day is difficult. So, I don't know if maybe we alternate, maybe we have an evening meeting one month, a day meeting the next month. Is once a month too much, not enough? So I think it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on that. And then what sort of topics should we be discussing and tackling? Obviously, the big one that we kind of started off with was this RFP process for 47th and Justine. Now that is sort of, not that it's ending, but now that we've sort of gotten through the visioning process and the evaluation of it, we don't have as much to talk about, conceivably. And we're also having these separate engagement events with the developer. So that will be the forum for some of that going forward. Which is not to say that we won't still come back here and talk about how that's doing. But, what other things should we be discussing and tackling in these roundtables? What would be of value, and how can we kind of, have a positive impact? And then who else should be engaged? We have a pretty solid cohort of 10 to 15 people who show up most of the time. But are there folks that we're missing? How do we engage those folks? How do we get more voices to the table? I'd be happy to hear your thoughts on that. And then again, I would just mention this is, I think tonight is just meant to be kind of a brain teaser, kind of plant the seed. Let's think about this. Let's brainstorm. Let's come back in October and talk about it a little more formally. But, we have about 20 minutes left. And so I would encourage folks to also unmute themselves and talk, Angie. Feel free to jump in and share your thoughts. But yeah, just kind of opening the floor for any thoughts or ideas on the roundtable, how it works. We'll see if we can get you unmuted, but. So Angie mentioned in the chat, a lot of people still don't understand what Invest Southwest means. I think that's fair. I can say right now, just, very briefly, Invest Southwest is not just 47th and Justine, not just this RFP project, but it's also the Cdot Streetscaping initiative that launched last month that Vanessa was here to answer questions about tonight. It's also the Artist in Residence program and the Viaduct Lighting project that DCASE is working on. It's also, the city has sort of reorganized resources in terms of the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund, the Small Business Improvement Fund, TIF resources. We're trying to target and focus those to these corridors in these communities. So it really is, it's a broad initiative that encompasses a lot of investment and resources. But it's also building capacity. I mean, I think these roundtables, get us all kind of at the table to talk about things, to brainstorm, to understand what the issues are. And so it's also, a means of connecting all of us so that we're actually kind of working together and moving forward together. So that's what Invest Southwest is. I think, Angie, to your point, if there would be value in us having, at the next roundtable or the one after that, depending on, how much we have to cover, if it would make sense for us to have sort of a refresher on what Invest Southwest is and what we're hoping to accomplish, I think we'd be very happy to do that. I thought I saw a hand raised. Janet.
Hi, good afternoon. I have a question about what the status is about the Back of the Yards library. I mean, I think that's a really big issue in our community. I know $15 million was allocated to this library a year ago, but I don't see nothing happening there. So I think this should be a big priority of this Invest Southwest plan.
No, I hear you, and I'm not surprised that the library came up. So DPD, as you know, we are not in the driver's seat on the library. That's the Chicago Public Libraries. But we have been very intent on engaging with them to try and move this conversation forward. So we have provided, possible sites for a new library. We have offered to open up the Roundtable as a forum for them to come and engage the community. I think we're continuing to do that. We actually have a meeting with them on Monday. And so I'm hoping to bring this up with them again. And I think what we really need to do is work with them to develop an engagement strategy so that they can actually come to the community and engage with you about what makes sense, what do you want to see in a library, what location makes sense, and start to kind of work through some of those things so that we can actually get this moving. But I hear you loud and clear. I think we probably should just add it as an agenda item. Keeping in mind that, again, unfortunately, we are not in the driver's seat on this, so we have to defer to libraries a little bit on the path forward. Maureen?
Thanks. If I can figure out how to lower my hand, I will do so. There,
We can lower them for you.
I got it. Okay, so just a few thoughts. I think going forward in terms of this roundtable, I actually think it's a good thing to have a central point of contact for the various city efforts that are going on, whether it's the lighting thing or United Yards or other stuff that falls in the umbrella of Invest Southwest, and a point of contact, even if you guys aren't in the driver's seat around the library, having a place that's already established for folks to come to and say things that they need to say, I think is really important.
Yes.
I also think that, we're all trying to figure out how to balance virtual and in-person given the Delta variant. But it's interesting, next week, we're going to have an opportunity to be in person. I suspect that going forward, it would be really helpful to either have a designated location or be prepared to move the location around the neighborhood, particularly to make sure we have places to meet east of Ashland, because east of Ashland is the area that has the least services and the least resources. And those folks are the people who are closest to the Invest Southwest original site, and they need an opportunity. And I feel really guilty because I met a homeowner over there months ago, and I have not been personally able to reach back to her to make sure that she's part of these conversations. So I want to make sure that we have structures in place to make sure we hear from the folks closest to the sites.
Yeah.
And also, I happen to live near 50th and Ashland, and that's my experience in this neighborhood is that there's a lot of activity and a lot going on between 47th and north of Ashland, and that the south and eastern parts of the neighborhood have less voice and representation. And so whatever we do, I'd want to make sure that we make deliberate efforts to outreach to those areas. And that we combine virtual and in-person so that folks who don't feel comfortable meeting in person still have an opportunity to connect virtually, and that we think about partners in the neighborhood to make sure that folks know that the virtual option is available and that translation is available. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, those are all great ideas. And I think that's the one thing that we're all too aware of is by being sort of stuck in the virtual environment, we're missing a lot of voices. And so I think, to your point, anything we can do to sort of, whether it's having in-person meetings for folks who are comfortable, but then still having a virtual forum for those who are not, we can certainly explore that. I think that's a really good idea. Jesse mentioned, can we bring the library folks to the roundtable next month? We can certainly invite them. I will invite them. Angie mentions the need to be proactive. Support needs to be proactive instead of being reactive. That's definitely true. I think with Invest Southwest and these roundtables, the speed at which we've done things, has definitely kind of forced us into a reactive position. And I think, my hope, and I think the ultimate hope of these roundtables is that we are looking proactively, that we're talking about things kind of in the future and how we can, get to that, and achieve that future vision. So I think that's great. I think if we can start to have those conversations and start being a little more forward-looking, a little more proactive. Janet agrees with Maureen about, a focus or kind of redoubling our efforts to engage with folks that are east of Ashland, south of 49th Street. We definitely need to do that. The plant is offering to host meetings. Yeah, I think that's the thing too. I mean, especially for these roundtables that tend to be smaller, I don't think we've ever had more than like 30 people at a roundtable. We certainly have a lot more options and flexibility in terms of where we can meet. I think we just need to make sure that we're kind of honoring the city's policy around social distancing and masking and things like that. So, but thank you. I'm assuming that's you, Jonathan. Thank you for the offer. Are there other questions or comments?
Hey, Nolan, can you hear me? This is Craig. How are you doing?
Hey, Craig. Yeah, good. How are you?
Hey, I'd like to also add, I'm building off of, I think it was Janet's point, maybe kind of building off it. I think maybe we're also suffering from a little meeting fatigue, and I don't mean this to be a complaint or criticism, and I've spoken to you about it before. It'd be nice to get everybody under one tent.
Yeah.
And talk about this as a large collaborative like Invest Southwest is intended to be. And we recently, many of us attended the Cdot forum and last week I hosted an outdoor meeting for the Alfresco project. And now I know there's been meetings at the Viaduct. We've talked about the library. Those are 5 agenda items that are really important, really robust. Might reignite some of the interest, but would also get everybody under one tent, make sure we're collaborating, eliminate a little bit of the meeting fatigue, and it would really, I think, get the ball moving where everybody's talking and getting on the same page at the end of the day, where we're best utilizing our resources and giving our best feedback back to the agencies that are actually implementing these initiatives.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, that goes back to that sort of format and frequency question of, is once a month the right frequency? Should we be doing every other month? Or, because I'm mindful of that. Obviously, I know all too well meeting fatigue when I get to work in the morning and I have 7 hours in the day and 7 hours of meetings. And then I wonder when am I actually getting work done? So I get meeting fatigue. And especially with, a lot of these different initiatives that are happening kind of all at the same time, the streetscaping, these roundtables, DCASE events. So certainly open to ideas on how we might, is it less is more? Do we try to cover more in a meeting? So maybe we're meeting less frequently, but maybe we're meeting a little longer, so we're covering more topics. Certainly open to ideas on that.
Nolan, also, I want to just caveat that I know that you don't control those other departments and you can't force Cdot when they have a meeting and control their schedule, but I just thought I'd throw that out there.
No, it's a great point. And I mean, we're all the city, we should be collaborating. So if any way that we can kind of combine or condense those things, I think we should be trying to do that. Angie mentions consistency of meetings is important. Absolutely. I know we had a little bit of kind of shifting things over the summer. We postponed one, we canceled one. I think we're certainly committed to getting back to a regular cadence, whatever that happens to be. Again, if it's once a month, if it's every other month, every 6 weeks, whatever that happens to be. I also think that's, why, and we had, again, technical issues at the August roundtable and the recording did not work. But that's why we do record these. That's why we try to, make sure that we're setting an agenda so that if you aren't able to attend one, or if one does get rescheduled, you can still come back and listen and, kind of get the information that was shared. Araceli?
Yeah, I understand the meeting fatigue, and that does resonate with me. But at the same time, I think repeatedly in these roundtables, we've discussed a siloing, right? East of Ashland versus west of Ashland. Sounds like there's also a demarcation between 49th Ashland and beyond. So, and I also understand that we're trying to build community. So I think even despite the meeting fatigue that I know that we're all dealing with, I'm not sure that moving to an inconsistent schedule is the best idea. or so quickly deciding to potentially discontinue these roundtables. I
Yeah,
wanted
don't
to.
think- Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, there's no intention to discontinue these roundtables. I think we're just trying to think about, especially if there's, it's also not a good use of people's time if we're meeting just to meet, right? So, although to your point, I mean, if we just have a standing date and time, but I think what we're thinking is, as long as we have like really clear things to talk about, and maybe that goes to sort of this topics question too, if we're not, debating the RFP site anymore, what are we talking about at these roundtables? And so, this is meant to be a forum for the community, a forum for you. And so if there are other topics we should be talking about, let's get those on the agenda. But I agree with you. I think, and it goes to Angie's point too about consistency. I mean, if once a month still makes sense, we're happy. I mean, I'm here. I'll meet here once a month. But we also want to be respectful of everyone's time. And so if every 6 weeks makes more sense, or if every other month makes more sense, we're open to entertaining that as well.
Well, also, Nolan, it was my understanding that the Invest Southwest initiative, it's going to be part of a years-long process, right? It's not you just going with this yards project.
That's right.
There's so much more to that in order to create a thriving neighborhood, especially given this particular neighborhood. So I'd love to hear just what the next phase of this Invest Southwest initiative is going to be. I haven't heard anything about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is we're looking to you and looking to the community to start to identify what those next steps should be. I mean, the RFP process, even though the process itself is wrapping up, like the development and the conversation isn't ending. So that's still going to be the next couple of years while that project gets built out. The streetscaping initiative that Cdot is working on, that's a 3-year process. And so, we're still going to be in the community for years to come. But I think, this is where, again, we're open to hearing your ideas on what are some things. The library, that's another conversation that is ongoing. So, we still have work to do, but I think we're also looking to identify and tee up other projects and initiatives where the city can bring its resources and its capacity to help support. So, maybe that's one of the things we have to start talking about as we move forward in these roundtables is, what are these other initiatives and projects and priorities that we need to start to work on? And I hear you, Angie, on being consistent in communication and contact, making sure that we're not letting too much time go by, making sure that we're communicating these things in advance. Maureen mentions or suggests us kind of a standing check-in to hold developers to account. Scott, you're on notice. And the Aronson building, yeah, that's another, the Aronson building and redevelopment is another project that is on the radar, very early in the process right now. But we certainly, I think that's another project that we should be talking about at the appropriate time. Okay, so there's a few comments and questions about the RFP process. There were a few kind of to be determined items in the winning bid. That's part of the reason why we're having this Meet the Developer meeting next week. That's part of the reason why we asked the development team to continue to engage with the community to make sure that those undefined or less defined aspects of their proposal are getting kind of defined and hammered out and in a way that achieves what the community wants to see. Who holds developers accountable? Obviously, the city will sign a redevelopment agreement with the winning team and go through negotiations. And then, any entitlement that the project gets, whether that's, a plan development, a zoning change, city resources such as TIF or housing tax credits, all of those things have strings attached. And so there's a number of different ways in which the city will hold this developer to account to make sure that they're doing what they said they would do. Another question about Aronson. Yeah, so maybe we can, we'll talk to that team and see if we can kind of bring that to the roundtable. for discussion. I understand there's a lot of interest in what's happening at the Aronson site. Let's see, where are we at? We have about 5 more minutes. Are there any other, Robin, do you have your hand raised? Robin has her hand raised, but her video is frozen now. Are you there? All right. Unfortunately, Robin, if you're there, we're not getting you. Other comments or
Hello?
questions? Oh, are you there? Hello?
I think I'm getting cut out right now.
Yeah, we can hear you now, though. Do you want to go ahead and try now? Maybe not. We'll pause on you, Robin. We'll go to Jonathan. We'll come back to Robin.
I was just curious if there's any role that the roundtable would have in ensuring that from now until completion of something, the 47th and Justine, that things like the community center, the TBD stuff in there actually like plays out. So if there's a Q&A session next week, right, the community will say like, here's what we want. But then what happens when a year down the line, things change. So like, I'm just curious about that process of having continued community involvement in there, in that. And I perhaps the roundtable is a part of that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think, so one of the things that's kind of up in the air right now, obviously, is, we've asked United Yards to partner with Back of the Yards Works. They're currently negotiating a revised program. And so we do expect some things to change based on that. I think, Scott, I defer to you on, next week and future, the potential for future engagement opportunities. But I think, I would expect that they're, looking to present some of those revisions or what this sort of blended project will look like. And I would expect that they'll be open to hearing, folks' thoughts and ideas. And then that will all, it's sort of an iterative process. So, so they'll be revising their proposal based on this kind of expanded program. And the city will be working with them on making sure that what is in their program is what, what we are funding and what will be entitled and what will eventually get built. So again, going back to that, there will be a number of different ways in which the city is going to ensure that what is proposed actually gets constructed. Scott, is there anything you want to sort of add to that, or?
I think you covered it really well. It's sort of like when you pull a building permit, the building department has to go back and do inspections and make sure that we're doing everything that the permit required us to do. Mm-hmm. I would really welcome a continued forum, even while we're under construction. This is not my first project as an affordable housing developer, and really the community is a partner. I know that there's a desire to hold us accountable, but really I view the relationship as more of a partnership. And so to the extent that things are going well or not going well, we really definitely want to hear from the community so that in real time, while we're actually out there swinging hammers and doing the work, that we're hearing from you and can pivot and make adjustments as necessary. So I would welcome the continued discussion.
Thank you, Scott. And Maria asked in the chat, is there a website that can serve as a repository for the answers to these questions? I'm going to put a link in the chat to chicago.gov/newcity. That is the landing page for the Invest Southwest initiative in Back of the Yards in New City. It doesn't currently have sort of a Q&A or an FAQ on there, but we could certainly, I'll talk to our communications department. I think we could add something like that pretty easily so that we do have that repository of questions and answers. Robin, are you back?
Yeah, hi, I'm back. Sorry, I think sorry, I'm working out of the car.
So right now, I just had one question about the RFP. I'm not familiar with the whole, just if I could have a small recap of what that is.
Oh, sure. Yeah, very quick recap. So last fall, the city identified the vacant city-owned lot at 47th and Justine as an opportunity site for redevelopment. And so we conducted sort of a couple of visioning sessions last September and October with the community to understand what they want to see on the site. We put out a request for proposals at the end of November asking for redevelopment proposals for the site. And so that process ended in March with 3 proposals received. The last couple of months was kind of evaluating those, having an evaluation committee, and United Yards was the winning proposal. And so they're proposing to redevelop 47th and Justine with a mixed use building that includes ground floor commercial, an opportunity hub, housing, although that might be changing, I know, with roping in the runner-up proposal. But they're also proposing the historic renovation of the Rainbow Building, some renovations to the Goldblatt Building, and then the redevelopment of a vacant lot at 47th and Marshfield as well. So actually 4 different components to that development in addition to the RFP site.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I know we're a couple of minutes over. I see some more stuff coming into the chat. We'll definitely take a look at those. Yeah, just to echo Janet, I think the city is also very excited that these 2 groups have been able to kind of talk and come up with an agreement, and we're very excited to see. I mean, it's kind of the best you could expect. Like, we're not just getting 1 proposal, we're getting 2. So that's really great. Before I let everyone go, is there any final kind of comments or questions? We are again next Thursday at the Davis Square Fieldhouse from 4:30 to 6:30. There will be a Meet the Developer meeting where you can learn more about the United Yards proposal, the partnership, and ask any questions and provide feedback. We have our next roundtable on, Sonia, do you know, I want to say October. It's always the 4th Thursday of the month, October 21st.
Thursday. Yep, I think that's
October 21st will be our next roundtable. And we have a meeting with libraries on Monday. I will invite them to the October roundtable and see if we can actually start to get things moving on that conversation as well. So seeing and hearing no more questions or comments. Thank you all again for taking the time to be with us tonight. Thank you for having this conversation. Again, I look forward to continuing the conversation about this roundtable and how we can kind of move forward with it. But yeah, thanks again. We'll send out some more information. Again, we'll send out the invite to next Thursday's meeting. Again, we'll send out an invite to Cdot's survey, and then Robin, if you have information on, or when you have information on the next dates of these artists in residence events, we'll send those out as well. So with that, thank you again, everyone, for taking the time tonight. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you, sir.